Hi, Galen. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gilbert. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Great. Thank you for being here with us to talk about your new company, Aero Energy. Maybe you can give us a bit of a background about Aero.
Sure. Well, yeah, happy to join. Happy to join for the interview as always. But Aero Energy is a uranium exploration and development company focused on looking at underexplored areas in Saskatchewan, in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan, which of course is a very prolific world resource of uranium. And we've been looking for as geologists, we've been looking for uranium there for decades. So you might think that, hey, it's kind of like you got to look really deep, or and it's hard to find things there now. But it's kind of funny. It still is this. There still are portions of it that have this frontier feel to it that just aren't really explored. And so what we're looking at is good shallow targets where we see a lot of similarities between the geological features and the same features that host deposits like NextGen's Aero deposit or the Triple R deposit at Fission.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Let's talk a bit about the location a bit more because understanding uranium exploration is, itself, it's because of the source of the nuclear energy. It's a bit of a strategic and sensitive thing. So how do you like working in Saskatchewan compared to other parts of the world in terms of uranium exploration?
For sure. Well, I mean, to start, part one of your question, how do we like working in Saskatchewan? Well, Saskatchewan is always in the top three jurisdictions in the Fraser Institute rankings for best places to invest in mining. Every year for the last must be 10 or 15 years, it's always either 1, 2, or 3. And that's because it's very pro-development, while at the same time, it's the first world, it's Canada, so there's excellent environmental protections in place, which is important. But it's a very pro-development jurisdiction that recognizes that they sit on world-class resources of uranium and other things, but I think primarily uranium in this respect. And it's kind of like the focus there is kind of like uranium for the world. If we look at other places that also have uranium resources, perhaps, when you think about investing in some of these places, say in Africa, it just gives an investor a little bit more pause to say, okay, if I'm investing in something, what do I really own? What does the company really own? And do property rights matter? And I think in places like Saskatchewan, that absolutely they do. There's great people there, with a long history of developing these resources, and there's a knowledge base that is certainly world-class when it comes to mining and when it comes to uranium. So those are really the main reasons why we work there. Geologic potential is excellent. It's a business-friendly environment. And there's a great workforce and great people to develop things.
Great. And from investors' point of view, they always talk about thinking about uranium exploration compared to the gold exploration. It's a bit different. Do you have a team or personnel to help you to explore for uranium there?
Yeah, we're in a great position where we have a great team with a deep history of making discoveries in Saskatchewan for uranium, which is very nice to have. I have to say it's a privilege to work with professionals of this caliber. But really, when it comes down to it, yeah, it is a bit different than gold. But I mean, I've always been successful in exploration when I keep it as simple as possible, and that the types of uranium deposits that we are looking for are like gold veins. And really, if you can think about it in terms of how do they form, where can you find them? There's not that, it's not too different. So yeah. But to be a little bit more specific on the team, some of the people I'm working with on this, well, even just to start with myself, I'm a geologist going back almost 20 years now. Before working on Aero Energy, I managed all of the drilling around the Aero deposit for NextGen Energy, 2014 to 2018, give or take. But other people joining, Garrett Ainsworth was the former VP exploration for NextGen during that time and was my boss there. Another gentleman, Dale Varan, works with us through a joint venture partner. He was the former VP exploration for Denison Mines. Mm-hmm. So, not to mention everyone, there's other key team members that have deep experience, but I think the main takeaway for us is that we're a seasoned group of exploration professionals, that have had a lot of success in uranium and now want a lot more.
Now let's talk a bit more about your recent developments here. You've finished the summer drilling program and the Sun project that you have. Can you share with us some of the highlights of this program?
Yeah. So we just spent the summer drilling on 2 projects. One's right beside the other with 2 different joint venture partners. Tested some really interesting targets and are now starting to have that early exploration success, where we had one hole that intersected some good radioactivity over 8 meters. Where the assays for that are still pending. But for us, that just proves the concept that, okay, hey, like the right rocks are here to host uranium, which wasn't really recognized before, and not only do they host uranium, are they the right rocks there? It looks like there's good radioactivity right where we think there should be. So for us, that opens up prospectivity over the entire 2 projects length, which is 30 kilometers. And almost none of it is really explored in the way that we would explore it today. And for us, that's very, very exciting. It's very rare to have early exploration success on the first program looking for uranium deposits like this.
Interesting. So what's your thoughts on the current uranium price situations, and how's your sentiment overall in terms of investing into uranium companies?
Yeah. So I think like today, we look at the price of uranium, it's $80 a pound. And rewind about a year ago, things started to get very, very good for uranium exploration companies and stocks ran. And then sentiment changed right at around the beginning of March. It really changed and things really pulled back. And for us and for all of the exploration companies, we're down 50%. We're down more than 50%, right? But if you look at the big picture, the macro picture, I think it's important to recognize that, look, like where are we going to get all of the power needs for the entire world, in the coming years and decades? And renewables are great, and they play a big part of that. But reliable base load energy, really the only source is nuclear power, and really the only source of nuclear power is uranium. And just the supply-demand fundamentals, the projections are getting so far out of whack, so far out of balance that I think that investors are going to come back to uranium in another cycle. I don't know when, but in another cycle. And I look at all of these names, all of the names are off by half. I start thinking, okay, well, maybe now is a good time to get positioned. So when things, sentiment does turn back on, and when it happens, it'll happen very fast, that, I'm positioned, at least personally, to take advantage of that.
You mentioned about the share correction here for most uranium companies, including yourself. So my final question for you is, do you think Aero is undervalued? Which is, probably I understand what the answer is, but you can explain a bit why do you think the potential of re-rating Aero Energy in the future?
Yeah. So I think number one, when sentiment flows back into uranium and into juniors, it happens very, very quickly. And I look at us and I say, okay, well, here's Aero Energy sitting at a market cap of somewhere around $5 million, give or take. And I think to myself, okay, well, who has the best exploration projects that are very shallow? We're starting to have exploration success in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan, that has a similar market cap to us. And there's really not too many. There's a lot of companies that are looking deep that have to drill 400 meters just to get to their target, which is fine. Like you can make discoveries that way. But we're looking at, 50 meters to start, our target depth to start 50 to 200 meters, something like that. So I look at that and I say, okay, well, we're starting to have discovery success. We've got great targets. We've proved the concept. And there's just something very special in Canadian uranium discovery that goes back to like the 1950s, where these discoveries, when they happen, can be very, very, very valuable, where stocks run from, just take an example like Next Gen Energy. When I started working there, I think it was a 25-cent stock. And this past summer, it traded at $12. So there's just a special torque in Canadian uranium discovery that is really not matched in many other places in the market.
Exciting. A lot to look forward to for investors for Aero Energy as well. So thank you for your time, Galen, to speak with us here today.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Gilbert.
Yes, we'll talk until next time.
Sounds great.